places. This is Western Mass News.
A huge break in a string of violent armed robberies around Springfield with 6 people arrested. They're suspected in 14 crimes that date back to April. Welcome everyone to Western Mass News at 5. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Abby Carnevale. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lokri joins us live in Springfield with what police have to say. Reagan?
Yeah, Abby and Chris, this was part of an investigation that started back in April when police started to notice a string of robberies happening across the city. Now, they started to get more and more violent as time went on.
They were heavily armed. They went into numerous businesses and terrorized the clerks and those local businesses while they robbed and took whatever they wanted.
6 suspects were arrested in Springfield this week in connection to 14 armed robberies at 11 different locations across the city. These crimes taking place from April through September, 9 of them happening within the last 2 weeks. The accused are 22-year-old Javon Resto, 29-year-old Carlos Resto Jr., 33-year-old Malwin Feliciano, 48-year-old Carlos Sr., as well as 2 17-year-olds. They are all facing armed robbery charges. After tracking down 4 of the suspects outside of a gas station on Allen Street, police tell Western Mass News they saw them putting on masks and gloves for what they believed to be preparation for another robbery. During the arrest, police obtained 4 high-capacity firearms. Police showed 2 of them on Friday. There were also 2 ghost guns recovered by police later that night. All of the weapons were without serial numbers. Detectives also found approximately 327 bags of heroin, more than 60 grams of cocaine, crack cocaine, marijuana, shotgun shells, a gun laser, additional ammunition, 5 additional firearm magazines, and more than $3,000 in cash. The captain of the Springfield Police Department's fire
hardest for their actions on the day of the arrest, directing that operation. And your detectives are extremely brave. They surveilled an armed robbery crew that they knew were armed and took them down without any incident.
Western Mass News spoke exclusively with one store clerk who experienced one of these armed robberies firsthand. This was her reaction after we told her the suspects had been arrested.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's great because I really want to see their faces. I'm pretty sure they're so young.